I want to talk to the men today. If you're a woman watching this, thank you for being here. But I'm going to ask you to do one thing with this episode, please. Could you share it, text it, send the link of it out, leave it open on the laptop, send it to the man in your life who needs to hear this? Because in today's conversation, I'm going to talk specifically to the men about what's going on in your life as a woman who is going through perimenopause. And my hope is that this conversation today can lead to genuine change around how perimenopause is seen by men, and also giving them the language that they can use to help the women who are going through perimenopause in their lives. And if you're a man who's watching this, whether you found it yourself or someone sent it your way, thank you for being with us today. And I invite you to spend some time with us as we have this conversation about perimenopause. Because in today's episode, I am going to be talking about how perimenopause affects women, so the women in your life, in ways that are real, significant, and largely still not widely discussed. Now, the reason I'm speaking to the men today specifically is because I've been hearing from a number of men recently. Some of you have reached out to me after either watching this channel, or you've watched one of my Instagram videos, or perhaps you got a copy of the newsletter I send out every Monday. Now, because of this information, some of you, you may have a wife, a partner, a colleague, a sister, a mother, somebody that you love who's currently going through this season. And it's a season of transition, and you don't quite know how you can support her through this time. Welcome to Faith in the Fog. My name is Isoken Aderile, and on this channel, I speak about perimenopause and its impact on women's lives. So men have been sharing their perspectives about this season, and I really appreciate those conversations because we really do need everybody's voices involved in this conversation. One of the recent conversations I've had with a guy, he was sharing about his mother's journey through perimenopause and realizing now in hindsight that he wished he understood then what he's beginning to understand now, and wishing that he had, the language, the tools, the compassion to have shown up for her at that time of her perimenopause. So this is what we're going to talk about today. So I'd like to start at the beginning, and I generally start the beginning that I start with is perimenopause, and I talk about perimenopause largely. But for the men who are watching, for the women in your life, if she is somewhere between her late 30s and her mid 50s, it's very likely that she's going through perimenopause or is in menopause. And during this time of perimenopause, the hormones that governs a woman's body and her brain function, so that's estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, these hormones begin to shift and fluctuate in ways that are largely unpredictable. There are quite a number of voices now in this space, and we appreciate the fact that we have so many voices talking about this issue. One of the voices that is quite prominent in this space is a physician called Dr. Mary Claire Haver, and she has described perimenopause as one of the most significant biological events in a woman's life, and has described it as one of the most under-researched and under-supported medical or biological conditions. What this means is that most women are not prepared for perimenopause, and I certainly know that I wasn't prepared, but also largely the people around women, right? So their support system, their families, they're even less prepared for when the women in their lives go through perimenopause. So what does this look like for you from the outside looking in, right? So when you're watching your wife, your partner, your loved one go through perimenopause, what can this look like to you? So you may have noticed that she may appear more irritable than usual, or showing up as more emotional or more sensitive to things that perhaps would not have fazed her in the past. She's exhausted, not just tired, but sort of, a significant depletion, fatigue, forgetting things, brain fog. Or she could be second guessing herself and suffering from high levels of anxiety, going through significant periods of insomnia. And if she's in a romantic relationship, you may have noticed that she's either pulling back physically, emotionally, or both. If you recognize any of these symptoms that I've just described, this is what's going on in her body as she's going through one of the most complex biological transitions of her life. She's almost certainly going through this transition while still showing up fully at work, while still showing up fully at home, showing up for the children, for her parents, her community, and to the people around her. So of course, she's going through this transition, showing up in ways that are not understandable, if you like, very different. And then for some of you men in your women's lives, you are wired to fix. Men, you're problem solvers. So you see something's wrong, you want to identify it, you want to address it, you want to resolve it and move forward, right? This is what we love about you men, because you're problem solvers. But when you're faced with a woman who's going through perimenopause, this is what she wants you to know, that this season of peri is not a season that responds to fixing. So you're hardwired to fix, but this is not a season for fixing. This is a season that responds to presence, understanding, patience, and compassion. So I know that I'm hoping that we have quite a few men watching this, but I want to talk about where you perhaps are in this perimenopause journey, because I know that, for many of the men who are watching, you're not in the same place. So there could be some of you men who you're watching and you're fully engaged with your wife or your sister or your mom who's walking through this season, right? You're walking beside them, alongside them. You're informed, you're knowledgeable, you're compassionate, you're an advocate for them, and you're able to approach this season with wisdom and the patience that it needs. And this is the level of support that women desire as they go through this season. There are possibly also some of you who are here today who you genuinely did not have an idea that this could be perimenopause, right? I mean, you've noticed the changes in your marriage, in your home, with your colleague, with your family. You noticed the irritability or the brain fog, but you didn't have the framework to understand what was driving some of these things that you had observed. And perhaps because you didn't understand that this was perimenopausal and hormonal, you've perhaps taken some of the things that you've seen, some of the symptoms, you've taken them personally. And this could maybe have led to you withdrawing, or you've tried to help, but the helping has perhaps made things worse without you meaning to do that. And there could be some of you who are legitimately trying, right? You understand something's going on. You can see it. You're trying, attempting to help, but you're getting it wrong, right? You're asking questions, but perhaps you're asking them at the wrong time, or you're offering solutions or attempting to fix when what she desires is for you to listen, to hear her and make space for her, right? So your heart and your intentions are right. You're coming from the right place because you want to help and to support. But perhaps the timing and the approach is the area that requires some more wisdom and some compassion. And then in all of this, right, whether you genuinely did not have a clue, or you're trying, or you've been rebuffed, some of you have started to withdraw. Not because you don't care, but because every time you try to help, it appears that you're saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing, and it makes you it's easier for you then just to withdraw, retreat, hoping that this phase passes and you're waiting for her to come back to you. And so I want to speak to those who have withdrawn or retreated because of the difficulty of navigating this season with, somebody who's going through perimenopause. Withdrawing is understandable, right? It is understandable that when you're rebuffed or your help is not accepted in the way you anticipated, that you withdraw. But I say this, that withdrawal for a woman who's going through perimenopause could be one of the worst things that she could feel, because it feels like abandonment, right? Because what she desires in the middle of the season is not silence. She doesn't want your silence. She wants your understanding and your compassion. So as you're navigating this season alongside a woman who's going through this, right? She doesn't expect you to fix her. She doesn't expect you to solve the problem. But what she's looking for is that you walk alongside her with understanding and patience. So what does this look like in practice? And how can we learn from the men who are showing up fully alongside the women in their lives? Well, one of the first things I would suggest is to learn enough about this season and perimenopause to have the conversation. So, the expectation is not for you to have a medical degree, but you do need to have enough knowledge about what this season means, what it is, what's going on with the hormones, so that you're not fazed by the changes or the symptoms when they show up. I think we're incredibly blessed to live in a time where there's so much information available on the internet, through books, through people like myself who are on here talking about perimenopause, etc. There's a book I will recommend called The New Menopause by Dr. Mary Claire Havers. She's one of the leading voices. She's actually a menopause practitioner, so she's a physician. And I noticed that she's written a new book called The New Perimenopause a few days ago. Now, these books are written in a way that they're accessible and practical. So it's really to gain some understanding and knowledge about what's going on. The second thing I would suggest is to ask her what she's going through, and then just listen. Not attempting to fix it, right? But listen to her. Now, when you ask the questions, it's not, what's wrong with you? What do you need me to do? Not those type of questions. But you want to ask questions that give her the space to open up. So how are you doing right now? What are you feeling? And then after you ask the question, the most important part is to listen. Listen to her. Don't listen simply to respond. Don't compare. Don't try to proffer solutions, but give her the space so that she can show up authentically and she can unburden herself without judgment. So listening is really important. And after you've asked the questions and you've listened, please do not make her symptoms about you. So she may be emotional, she may be irritable, she may have withdrawn. Your first reaction is not to explain how her symptoms are affecting you. There is a time for that conversation. However, in that acute moment, while she's going through the symptom or explaining her symptom to you, we need you to stay present and regulated and be that calm in the room and not make the symptoms about you. The other thing you can do is to help with the mental load. Take some things off her plate. Now, many women are carrying so many things, right? Juggling so many different, roles and hats and so many things. So if you could take just one thing off her plate, take one mental load item, one task off her plate, not just take it off her plate, actually do it, solve that issue without waiting for gratitude, without waiting for fanfare, just do it. It's such a significant help to a woman who's navigating this season of transition. The other thing that I'll be emphatic about this, is to encourage her to advocate for herself medically. Women in this season are still being dismissed, they're still being misdiagnosed, or they're simply not asking the right questions. So if you can help her, if you can encourage her to find a menopause informed practitioner, or you can go with her to her medical appointments, or you can help keep notes of what you've noticed so she can take those notes in to a doctor's appointment. Take this season of transition seriously and help her advocate for herself medically. And the final thing that I'll suggest, which is I think is the most important one out of this list, is to pray for her. I speak on these topics from a faith perspective, and I believe in the power of prayer. And if you have a faith practice as well, I would say praying for her is one of the most significantly spiritually important thing that you could do. So as I close this video today, I want to say that the woman in your life is not asking you to be perfect. She's not asking you to fix the season of perimenopause. What she is asking, perhaps not in words, perhaps not even consciously, is that you choose to walk alongside her in this season, and choose to do so with understanding, with patience, and with compassion. The season will not last forever, but how you show up in this season will be remembered, not just by her, but also by you. So I ask you kindly, to all the men who have stayed through this journey, through this episode, please be the man who stayed in the room with the woman in your life. Walk alongside her with compassion and with patience. If you found this video helpful, please share it. Send it to a man who needs it, a husband, a partner, a colleague, a brother, a son. Let's share this content widely so that the women who are navigating this season can get the help and get the support from the men in their lives. And if you're a man who's watching this and you found it useful, I would absolutely love to hear from you. I value the male voices in this space because your voice matters so much as we discuss perimenopause. It's a situation that affects women physically, but it has an impact on everybody around the women. So it's so important that we have the male voices speaking about this. Please share this, and if you found this useful, please like, subscribe, follow, and also turn on notifications so that you can see when I have more videos up. And I'll see you in the next video.